you sit down, Lino, we want you to stand. Everybody stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Well, again, we're sorry for being a little longer than we wanted to, but we just got into heated discussions. I'll start right with the appointments. Christine Tariq and Steve. This is on the plowing of. Please, come right up, please.
This is our new superintendent, Chris Tyree, this is Charlie Edwards, Connie Twombley, Toni Bodah, and Kelley Collins. Steve Brown, nice to meet you.
Don't forget Lino.
Yeah. Come on, Bob.
Table, Bob.
Might as well sit at the table. You're here for the same reason.
I just didn't want to sit next to you.
Yeah, I understand. I wouldn't want to, but you're gonna. All right, so you're here to tell us something about the plowing of the Balls.
Well, actually, we're here to find out about what's going on.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure what we've decided because we haven't had a chance to decide anything. This should be a discussion. What would you like to tell us?
Well, like I said, we heard that you weren't gonna, the town wasn't gonna plow the school anymore. And
We've never voted that.
It's never been voted, so it's still on the table. So you
But
want to present it? Okay.
that's what we're here to find out
Yep.
what's going on, because as far as I know, and the town has always plowed the school. I mean, it's more or less an effective way, and cost-effective way to get the school plowed. If we were to have to go out to bid, it's gonna cost us far more money. And basically, it's gonna cost the taxpayers a lot more money. I think it's much more effective if it stays in-house than if the school has to go out to bid.
I might be able to shed some light on that. So I was questioned by, I don't remember if it was Terry Wiggin first or Christine, but somebody pinged me about the plowing, and I said that if it was up to me, that I would have a discussion with the Board of Selectmen. I never got a chance to do that, but I said if it was up to me, to be safe, I would put it out to bid so that you knew what the price was. Because whether they plow it or we plow it, we should know what the actual cost is. Because with the town absorbing it, I understand the argument is it's all the same money, but it's not. It's all the same money coming from the same pocket, but it's the school's cost of doing business. It shouldn't be the town's. And in preparation for tonight's meeting, I solicited information from our insurance carrier, which it costs us insurance. Besides the labor and the equipment, wear and tear, which are actual costs that the school is not paying, it also is on our insurance. It's a liability that's coming to bear on us that we are taking on and is not our liability. And so I have an email from both the town attorney and from the insurance company saying we're covered, but we're taking on liability that we don't need to take on. And at the same time, I solicited, because people tell me, everybody told me that everybody does this for their school. So I put it out on the New Hampshire Municipal Managers login. 23 towns answered. 9 do not plow their schools. And the 13 that do, either some are paid for it, some buy box plows for their town, some use teachers when they're off duty to plow for the town. Some barter the use of fields and gyms, which I understand we use the gymnasium. But I think you should actually know the cost so that you know what it's costing the town. And I have those with the board.
The cost?
No, because without putting it out to bid, and that's why I suggested to the school that they put it out to bid, just so even if the town kept doing it, you should know what you're actually getting.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, to To speak to the, to speak to the liability issue, we all have liability. I mean, the town, the Parks and Rec uses our building, our fields all the time. So, I mean, granted, it's different pockets, it's all the same wall. I mean, the town, granted, there might be some liability for the town, but just as the same, on the other side of it, the school's taking on the liability when the Parks and Rec is always there, and that's kind of always been maybe a gentleman's agreement that, the town plowed the parking lot, and then the town got to use the building and the facilities. As far as, a bid goes, you can't really, you need to compare apples to apples, and it's gonna be really difficult to go out to a third-party vendor and say, this is what it's gonna cost. It's not gonna be the same, it's gonna be far more expensive than it would be if the town keeps it in-house. So it's not gonna be really a representative figure on what it's costing the town or the school, because a private party is gonna put that, and it's gonna be far more money than what it would be to have it to stay in-house with the school, with the town doing. I mean, it'd be almost like the same thing as put a bid out, have the town put a bid out for plowing.
I think we should put a bid out for the use of gymnasium space. I think we should actually know what they're providing to us and what we're providing to them.
Well, I guess my thought is it's still the taxpayers' money. It's still the same taxpayer. As a taxpayer, I don't care who spends it, if the school's spending it or the town's spending it. I don't think that I'm not really in favor of going towards, I think it's not broken, leave it alone.
My question is, what's different from this coming year versus however back it goes to the 80s? The town plays.
10 years,
Wow.
right? It's only been being done for
10 years?
I don't know, I
I mean,
don't see the difference either.
what is the difference? I mean, why this now?
Because in other towns I've come from, this is not done, and the towns all quit doing it because of the liability, because there have been litigations, there have been lawsuits, and the towns got stuck holding the bag for plowing at the school. And so the towns looked at it and said, yes, it's a cost of doing business, but it's not our cost of doing business, it's the schools, and that's where it should be reflected.
We're one town. I mean, we should take care of each other, really. It's my opinion.
I think the board of selectmen should make the motion to do that. It's your job to set policy.
Lee, what do you want to say?
Can I speak on this
Yeah.
whole thing
Yeah.
as Director of Public Works?
Yep.
I did a whole lot of research. Number one, Mr. Brown, you said it's always been done, the town's always done school.
As far as I know, right?
No, they have not. The town used
It's
to
been
make,
done more than 10 years.
the town used to make a pass on the road through the school 30 to 35 years ago. Once the first parking lot was constructed at that school, the school contracted out plowing and sidewalk clearing duties approximately 25 to 30 years ago. I can give you the name of the individual who last held that contract if you would like.
Not needed.
Somewhere around 1996 to 98, the road agent at the time had a personal vendetta, was trying to get even, and took the contract away from that individual. Just because we've always done it, it doesn't necessarily make it the right thing to do. Around 97, it became a requirement to call dig safe 72 hours before beginning any excavation. Throughout my time with the town, which has been way after 97, I was instructed to dig without dig safe. We've always done it that way. It's not a valid excuse in my mind. This came up because I was talking to Joe last year. We go over there and spend 3 to 5 hours because you guys extended the parking lot. It's almost triple in size in the front. 3 to 5 hours, 2 loaders, 14-foot pushers, 2 guys, plus a guy to go salt, and that's just front side. When we get all done with that, we plow the front road in front of the school, and then your contractor comes through after we're all done, snow blows the sidewalks into the same road we just plowed and treated, and the same parking lot we just plowed and treated, and takes all that salt off, and then I get phone calls that the school's icy again. On top of that, according to Knowing the Territory by New Hampshire Municipal Association and state law RSA 194, the school district is a distinct governmental entity, legally separate from the municipality. The school board serves as the governing body which is responsible for the management of the district. Although the municipality acts as a billing and collecting agent for the school district, it is the school district acting through its voters at a school district meeting that raises and appropriates money for school district purposes, as outlined in RSA Chapter 197. School administrative units, which we just became a new one, are legally organized, shall be corporations. The word town, wherever used in, this is section 194.1. The word town, wherever used in the statutes in connection with the government administrative support or improvement of the public schools shall mean the school district. 194.2, all districts legally organized shall be corporations. In snow and ice and other weather hazards, 231.92A, notwithstanding RSA 231.90 through 92, a municipality or school district, which means we're both separate entities. In education administrative rules, 302B, the superintendent shall be responsible for planning and managing the administrative and leadership services of the local school district or districts within the school administrative unit, subject to statutory requirements. These rules and policies of local districts shall include but not limited to D5, maintenance and capital improvement. 302, ED 302.2, substantive duties of the superintendent. Be responsible for developing and recommending to the school board or boards within the school administrative unit the annual budget for the support of the educational program and for the operation and maintenance of schools within the district and the school administrative unit in accordance with school board policy. School facilities, that's ED 30607. The local school board shall require that the facilities for each school provide the following. A1, a clean, healthy, and safe learning environment for all areas of the school, building, grounds, and school-related activities. Custodial and maintenance, ED 30609. The local school board shall provide for each school such custodial services as are necessary to ensure a clean, sanitary, and safe physical plant and ground. Now, I've been appointed by the selectmen, and as such, my responsibilities are to all the townspeople and not just a few. The Drew Mill Dam come up because you can't use public funds for private purpose. You and the SAU, well, the school board and the SAU, as a corporation, is a private entity separate from the town of Wakefield. So that would be using public funds for a private purpose to benefit the school. RSA 231.59 concerning expenditures. Bear with me, please. The money so raised for the highway and collected shall be expended in repairing Class 4 and Class 5 highways by the agents elected or appointed for the purpose under the direction of the selectmen. I cannot maintain Class 6 roads. I am not supposed to maintain private parking lots.
Does that, just not to interrupt you, but does that, what about the parking lot here? Is that the
That
same?
is a town-owned, which is associated with
Is
Yes,
Taylor
Bill.
Way
Okay.
a town road?
Taylor Way through the school is not. That's why it's gated by the school. That's why they shut those gates during the school day so people can't go in front of the school.
It's a town road from where to where?
From where their gate is, out to Gary and Burroughs, and Martin Way coming in to the gate.
Right, continue.
And from the Hard Road to Travel, written by the New Hampshire Municipals Association, municipalities should refrain from regularly maintaining, for example, plowing, private roads and driveways. That was because of the public purpose requirement in Clap v. Jeffrey in 1952. That was a private, or public funds for private benefit.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Have you estimated how much you're going to save if you stop doing the school?
It depends on your winter. Like I said, every snowstorm, we spend 3 to 5 hours, 2 loaders, at least either a pickup truck or a 10-wheel dump truck with the salt, and then we got to go back and do the backside, which is all dirt, which takes another person either in the loader or a dump truck and the sand.
So you're not going to have to do those anymore?
Nope. And that will allow me to do my specific job is, which is to make sure that the roads in this town are safe to travel for the traveling public.
Okay, Ralph?
The representation that a public school is a private entity is about as ridiculous an argument I've heard so far. Every child, every parent of those children, and every grandparent, and every resident in this town is entitled to clear rights of way, clear rights of way if your tax dollars are paying for it. You are a public employee who has a job to do. Maintaining a public school right of way is part of your job and has been done. And when you talk about personal vendettas and a road agent coming in removing some private enterprise earlier in our history, I don't remember that happening. But I can tell you that personal vendettas are a part of the picture here in this particular instance. There's a history of a personal vendetta.
And what would that be, mister?
It doesn't matter. You stop. Jim?
Is this public comment?
Well, if you want to add something, go ahead.
I
Go to the
will,
last
I
one.
will wait till public comment if you'd rather. I have something to say.
Is it about this?
It's about this.
So please say it.
Oh, I'd like to say that, first of all, I think we're living in a very wonderful time in our town. We have new administrators in the school district and at the town. And I'm appreciative that these folks are having a fresh look at how we do things and bringing these questions to the table for discussion. I don't have a side on this, but I think what we need to remember is that sometimes a mutual effort is what's best for the town as a whole. You know, the school district doesn't own a snowplow, but the town doesn't own a gymnasium. And this mutual effort works for the betterment of everyone. And that's what we're really all about. I think that the other point I would like to make is that this is happening now, or it has been happening with the current budgets we have. And if I put my taxpayer hat on, in order to support a change, I would need to be comfortable that it was not going to increase my tax burden or the tax burden of any taxpayer. So my question, the question I have is, if it is determined that the school department will be required to do their own plowing, are we going to reduce the highway budget by that amount? So there is a zero consequence to the taxpayer. And when it comes to the, who's doing what for whom, I would like to suggest that what we really need to do is, looking at these questions, is to look for some data. Why couldn't we take a year and keep track of the expenses to the town for the plowing, keep track of the expenses to the school district for the use of the gymnasium for basketball games and town events? If the scale is tipped too much one way or the other, then we have the data to make an informed decision. Thank you very much for letting me have my say.
Right.
The bottom line to me is that, the school's better at educating children, the town's better at plowing snow. If the school has to go out to bid, everyone's taxes are going up. Guaranteed. Because there is no way that the school district can get a private contractor to go in there and even come even close to what the actual cost of the town is. So that's the bottom line. If the selectmen say that the school's gonna have to do it, everyone's taxes are going up. Because I will guarantee you that putting this out to bid by a third-party vendor is gonna be far higher. And you're gonna have a lot of happy taxpayers in town.
Can I just read one paragraph out of the legal?
You wanna let her go, Connie?
Yep.
Go ahead.
So one paragraph out of the town attorney's email is equal protection issues. If a municipality elects to selectively maintain property it does not own or have a legal responsibility to maintain, it invites assertions of inconsistent and unfair treatment. Again, because the school property is private, not me, the town attorney says this. From the perspective of the town, owners of private parking lots and roads would have a viable claim for equal protection violation. I don't think we want to invite the private road associations in town to ask us to plow, even for a fee, their private roads. And that's what scares me.
Good point.
I've lived in this town for 75 years. And I feel that the school is important to me, the town is important to me. And I have seen over the years, many, many times, when the two have come together and cooperated. And I'd like to see that continue. I am in favor of the town continuing to plow the school because even though supposedly they're a private entity, our tax dollar is paying for both. It's not just paying for one, it's paying for both. So I am in favor of the town continuing.
You cute when you get off. Lino, you wanna speak?
I'm actually staying out of this on both sides.
Okay, and I
You
understand.
can't have two masters.
Yep, I understand. I will tell you that, I think they make a great point, okay? I'm not gonna say that I disagree with them, but I do think but I think Jim Miller made the best point, is
He
that, I'm personally a guy that thinks that something's not broken, leave the damn thing alone, okay, personally. I don't get this liability thing, it's still town. Do I like not going over there when you guys got an issue over there and you can't control it yourselves, and then it comes to us like we're gonna go over there and solve your problems? We can't even speak because you are separate. And I don't like that. I still would like to have a little authority on some of the actions that have taken place over there. But, on the other hand, I'm all about this school. But where does it go from here? Do we now want, if we go and do this, do you go and charge the poor rec department that uses that every night of the week for hours on end, every night of the week? Do we gonna charge the rec department because the rec department is part of the town? Now, I've always wondered, does the rec department go to the school and be part of the school because it's all about kids? But I don't know if I got a great issue with that. I like how it's not broken. So personally, I would leave it alone, and I'm not quite sure why it has been done for years. I don't care what anybody says. As long as I can remember, it's always been done. It's bigger, yes, but do I think just because it's bigger it's going to take longer? I think it's much easier to plow now than it ever was. But I'm not plowing it. He's plowing it. I understand where he's coming from, that he wants to be more time. But my goodness, man, you've been doing this, you've been doing it for as long as you've been here. You've been doing it. And it seems to get done. The only time you ever really hear any bitching about your roads is when it's icy out and people gonna bitch no matter what you do. So I don't care, you can't please everybody anyway. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm in favor of leaving it alone for today. I think it's too far into the season to worry about it this year, but Jim Miller made a great comment. You need to do some analysis. I want to see what it costs you to do it, and I want to see a proposal from a third vendor, or whatever you call that, I just call it a plowing contractor, to come in and give a proper bid. Now, as someone that does that for a living, I can tell you it ain't gonna compare, but then again, I don't know. I can't make that assumption. I know where you're coming from, Lee, and I want to stand behind you.
No,
But I will tell you right now, I think it's not broken, and I am one of the guys that just said, leave it alone. It's a great, this is for the kids. This ain't for these three people or those people. They don't go to school. These kids, we're supposed to be together. And if we start separating, where does it stop? That's all I say. If we want to separate and they can sit and negotiate and figure out if it's worth it, then I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with changing something today when I think their budget season is over. You can't even put it aside for the budget.
We don't have any money for this in our budget.
Correct. So analysis would be proper, and if we can show that it would be to their benefit, then I don't think that they're gonna fuss about that either. It's still the same taxpayers' money. I mean, your tax, it's still coming out of the same fund, it just goes into a different category, I guess, I'm not sure, but.
You have separate budgets, but it's all coming out of the
I
same
know,
wall.
but I don't wanna look at it that way. I wanna look at it as, is it a great deed that we're doing? 100%. I think it's a great deed that we do that. Why? Because I know it's getting done properly.
For the kids.
But do I like the research you just did? 100%, man. I didn't expect anything less from you. But,
Like I said, I'll do whatever the board decides.
I know.
I'm only here because I was asked to be
I
here
know,
on behalf of.
I'm listening to you as well as I'm listening to him, and I'm surely listening to Ralph, even though sometimes we wonder. But God bless him.
I want to.
But he makes, I know, and I don't want it to become a conflict where it trickles down into a lot of other things. Right now, let's do an analysis of it. You guys do your part, he's definitely gonna do his, he knows how long it takes him to do it. How do you put a price on it? I don't know.
No, but just like you said, Charlie, you do it, you know they're not gonna compare.
I know it's not gonna compare.
And the bottom line is, if this happens, it's gonna cost all the taxpayers far more money to get the same job done. Granted, we appreciate that the town does it, you know, but we're working together.
That's what I want.
Instead of against each other.
I want you to
I mean, there's
understand.
no sense to, you know, if the town saves X amount of dollars, but then it costs the taxpayers 10 times X on the school side. It's still costing the taxpayers far more money.
As someone that I know that is gonna stay out of the limelight of it, would you have an opinion? Because I value it.
I think you're putting him on the spot.
I don't care.
Could I just add one more thing, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the liability goes, maybe Chris could have Terry look into our insurance policy and see if we could maybe add the town on as a rider or something like that.
And that's what we do for the gymnasium. You have no liability when we use your gymnasium because we have a certificate, we name you as an additional insured, so it's 100% under our insurance.
Well, then we should
But
be able to do the
you don't
same.
have that right now for us. And
Well,
that's
yeah.
why our attorney is concerned, because our insurance company says they'll cover us 100%, but with us not being insured, but if we were both insured with PLT in the old days or with Primex, then they would work it out and we would split any liability or any claim. Unfortunately, Travelers is not a sweeter, gentler insurance for municipalities. And if you have a different one and there is an issue, our insurance is going to cover us, but they're going to try to subjugate to you. And if your insurance says, no, we're not paying it, then the town's on the hook for the entire liability. And we would actually have to sue the school to get them to cover the liability, which is never going to happen because no town wants to sue its own school.
Well, that's why I just asked. if we
Yeah, and we're
could
so
look into-
Primex, so you look into
Mr. Chairman, I would frame your motion into 3 segments, tying in the liability portion, tying in the contract for services portion, and tying in the analysis for this year.
Okay.
My recommendation.
Thank you. Just what Lino said. Second. All right? And does, before I put it out for vote, is that acceptable to you?
Oh, me personally?
To the board.
Is for this.
Is that acceptable to you?
The only caveat I would like to put on that is the gentleman's agreement. I would actually like to see something in writing for some kind of contract on what we have to do. Yeah.
Correct. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay?
No, I'm good with it.
Is the public okay with that, with the comments? Good? Good. All right, motion to accept?
Could
No,
I'm voting mode.
Wait,
voting now.
discussion, yeah, but we can have discussion before.
I'm just trying to cut him off.
I know you
Go ahead.
are.
does that mean we have to have a contract for the school then?
Not now. You're just going to do
Look
the
into it.
analysis. You're gonna
Yeah.
look into it, you're gonna find somebody
No.
to give you one for next year?
We were saying he wants a contract.
He just wants to see something in writing, because who says I can't write you one myself, say it's $10? You know what I'm saying? He wants to see a legitimate,
I will expound upon that. A contract for services in lieu of using the gymnasium, as the town of Amherst does as well. We use the fields and gym, I think, for equal services provided with an analysis on both, one from the
both.
school
And I thought that
and one from here.
was pretty obvious.
That would be my amendment to
Okay.
that. Or that would be your amendment to that.
That'll be my amendment. I agree. I thought that was part of it anyway.
No, I'm not voting.
No, but I agree with it, 100%. So, discussion is closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstained.
Abstain. Okay.
Before we go, I just want to say hello from myself, from Kelley and from everybody on the town side that I've met so far. And we're always looking for ways to work collaboratively together. And anytime, I'm sure you're comfortable calling me, and I'm comfortable calling you when we can do.
Well, I think things have been better. Huh? Is things better?
That's good.
Things are good.
I will say things are much better.
And I see it. So,
Coming to me, things are good.
yep, things are good. And I'm glad. And this is for the benefit of the children of this community, and I want that. So,
And it's much appreciated, and we're going to do the best job that we can
I
possibly
hear
do
you.
for those kids.
You're doing good.
good job, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget, question and answer.
You have a question?
All I was going to ask, obviously, we didn't quite see it. The motion included the fact that we want to continue to plow the school.
Correct.
Yes.
Everything stays the same until we can find analysis
Yeah.
to sustain which direction to go. Thank you. Good job. Hey, I thought that went really well.
That's like my eighth
job.
motion in 2 days.
Huh?
That's like my eighth motion in the last 3 days.
Wow.
Well, you didn't make it. I
I
made it.
did, you made it.
That's right. All right. Would you like, you all spoke, and I'm happy.
Me too.
Good job. Huh?
I like that.
Good job. You want to say something again?
No.
Okay. We're gonna skip and go over. We got a sewer abatement request.
So,
Is this the abatement that we had last time?
yeah, so there was, Mr. Wallace came in to see the owner of Sheepdog and Halligan about the water bill at 27 Meadow Street. So you told me to figure it out, and my figuring it out entails a letter I wrote to I spoke to him today, and I did what he asked in his letter of abatement request, and I averaged the last 3 months' bills, even though 2 out of 3 of those bills, he was not even in that property. But it's what we have to work with. My concern for not abating the whole amount is because we don't know that one side of that other that has leaks in the toilets, the sinks, so we want to put some of he has to have a little bit of skin in the game with us, because we want to make sure that there is not sewage being treated. So basically, I took the average of his 3 bills, I minused out what his current bill is by gallons, and I abated 50% of that. So he'll still pay the capital improvement, and I did speak to him about this. The abatement would be $144.06. The additional condition on this would be that he approach the water department about a deduct meter on the outside spigot where he predominantly fills the vessel that he uses in the carpet cleaning, extracting business. And he's agreed to all this, he's aware of this. At the same time, just to put a little more weight behind it and to make the water department understand that this is what we like to do for this customer so that we don't damage his business because he's paying a sewer bill he doesn't really need to. I've prepared a letter to the, so this letter would be from me, just reiterating what you've agreed to. And then this letter is for your signatures to the Sanbornville Water Department, asking them at their earliest convenience to put a deduct meter on that outside spigot for Mr. Wallace. And I think those two things together, I mean, we'll abate a good portion of this bill, and then hopefully that water meter can be put in before a good portion of the next bill. We may have to abate a little bit on the next bill as well if the water department can't get there. I believe they've already been in contact with him and told him that the cost of the water meter would be $140, and he agreed to pay that, and he's happy to get this done. So I think this is a pretty good resolution.
I like it. We got
Do we have a letter from the, will we be getting a letter back from the water department, water commission, whatever it is, to make for the other side of this, to make sure that everything is spelled out on what is required of Mr. Wallace and the water department before we do this?
There'd be no requirement other than,
Who's paying for what?
yeah,
This
it
is
says
gonna be
right
put
in it, that it says in that letter that at Mr. Wallace's expense, and he's already verbally agreed to that with the water department.
tentatively have agreed with the abatement,
Which would be ordered by Mr. Wallace.
Okay.
did you read from him, David, at all?
No.
Has he said anything about this?
Yes.
Good, bad?
Um,
Does he think it's the right thing to do, or does he think we shouldn't be doing it?
He has audited new meters.
I would hope so.
Now, are they the deduct meters, or?
They're
meters
two
that-
different meters. I'm not sure even one of them are the deduct. There's a new version and then there's another version, and for some reason they sent two different ones.
As long as they meter that outside water. So what'll happen is you'll get one meter reading for the domestic where your toilets and your sinks go to, and Lilacs and Sheepdog and Halligan will both be on that and both be paying the regular water and sewer for their toilets and sinks. And then there'll be a separate meter, similar, it can be a more updated meter, but it's just called a deduct meter because we're deducting sewer off it. So it's the same meter, we're only gonna bill water on that outdoor meter though. So the owner will get two bills, one for the inside domestic and then one for the outside that's filling the vessel. And there'll be no sewer on the outside, only water. He'll still pay for his full water.
100%.
And I think he's using considerable amounts of water because that is the bill of the business. It's just not going down our sewer system, it's going out to wherever he's detailing
Going
cars.
down the
or-
river, going out on the tide, running down beside the building, going down into the lawn and feeding the lawn if there's grass.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay?
I'd like to move the letter to the, apologize. I move the letter to Sheepdog and Halligan and to the St. Margaret Water Department as presented.
Second.
Okay.
For discussion.
Yeah, so you want to send this to the water department before we do anything to see if they
This
agree? Is
letter.
that what they
I move the letter and the abatement, excuse me.
To them, to make, let them make the decision, or how does that
No, we're
work?
making the decision on the abatement
Okay?
as
That letter.
Yes, that-
requested.
Which I think the letter's written nicely.
Yep,
Yep.
and also this letter as well.
Okay.
And this is to the water department,
Okay?
explaining,
What's happening?
yes.
Right. And what the solution is.
Sorry to make a copy for all of you,
Okay.
that's the actual.
No, I think that's a great letter. I mean,
Okay.
it's absolutely perfectly written. Okay, so as for discussion, I don't have any more. That explains it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we sign this,
Mhm.
and then,
And
And I'll have to do an official abatement form, but I'll just put it in your signature file because you've
no, I
already
think
made
that's
a
a
motion to do
great
it.
letter. John.
and I
You almost did it it upside
And
down.
another motion to have Kelly sign the letter to Mr. Wallace, because it's in her.
Okay?
Yep.
Any second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I also had another request which did not come before you yet because he didn't actually make a request for abatement, but he came to see me, Ed Brown, about his holding tank for his 8 units on Wakefield Road. So his concern was that there are people that also have a holding tank that have been getting a minimum bill while he is getting metered, and he's very frustrated that he doesn't think that's fair. One of the things, there's a sewer revocable sewer agreement between several residents that have holding tanks. And basically the premise of that was they had holding tanks and their brown water goes in there, the solids settle to the bottom, and then they pump off the liquid off the top, or that comes to the sewer. So it's more gray water than brown water. What happened with Mr. Brown is that he didn't own the property when it was only 3 units, and then I think in January 2016, he came before you guys, got permission to go from 4 units to 8. I don't know how the 3 went to 4, but that's a moot point at this point. So I think he's pumping probably a little more frequently, because our sewer agreement that I found back from 2002 says that he has to prove to us, him as well as the other owners that have those, that they pump the tank at least once every 5 years, and it appears he's pumping it annually about 500 gallons. So basically, I just wanted to let you know that I've written him a letter saying I believe he has 3 choices. The first choice would to be replumb the whole tank and send all 8 units wastewater to the town and pay accordingly, which is kind of what he's paying because he's paying on the water bill. The other thing he could do is he could discontinue the towns and just send it all to the tank and pay 100% pumping that tank for 8 units. I can't even imagine what that would cost or how often he would have to pump. And the third choice would be and all of these my caveat to him in the letter is that, all of these would need the Board of Selectmen's approval because you're the sewer commissioners, not me. I'm just telling you what I think the choices are. And the third choice would be to provide us with the gallons that he actually pumps every year and ask for an abatement of that amount, because anything he pumps out of that tank is certainly not coming to us.
I guess my question is this another one of those trickle down things that we're gonna have next thing is Lino's across the street's gonna be asking for this, I'm just using it as an example.
I know.
Or,
For example, but okay.
yeah, but I'm just saying, because it stops.
Well, here's
Do we do this to everybody?
Well, here's the issue I would say with it. If you have a nursery business and you're watering outdoor plants, that water is not going down the sewer system. They shouldn't actually have to pay for that. So if they're willing to pay the $140 to put a meter on the outside, that's all we want. We only want them to pay for the service we're providing to them, which is treatment of sewer. So if people are willing, and this is very common in most towns' sewer wastewater use agreement, it says what the parameters are of putting in these deduct meters. If you have a nursery business, or if you have a car washing business, or anything that used a great volume of water that doesn't go back down the sewer system, then we're not paying to treat it. Why should they?
I agree.
And if they're, they got to put a little skin in the game, they're going to have to pay to plumb it with a $140 meter. But it seems like it'd probably be worth it. It'd pay for itself in a few years to pay out the business.
So that's basically what we just decided, that the water department should be on that also, right?
The water department doesn't meet again until the 3rd Tuesday in October.
No, but I agree with Kelly that I don't think, we'll use the one we're getting abatement. I don't believe, I understand that they use the one on this, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't think he should pay because we're not paying to have it serviced. I'm okay with that. But that goes for everybody. So anybody that wants to buy one of these little machines at $144 or whatever they are, can surely put these on, right?
Sure.
Well,
But that comes to treating everybody the same.
Correct. And I'm equal with that.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be at the water department's convenience, I mean, and I don't think there's gonna be,
Oh, you have to put it on, so this is where it becomes labor for the water department. I'm not sure what it entitles, no? Are they, I mean, do
Unless
we know
they-
that they're acceptable
Unless
for
they
that?
have somebody else do it.
Okay,
No, we don't.
we don't, so
No.
is that what
But
we
that
wait
doesn't
for?
mean,
Or that doesn't?
that doesn't mean we can't decide that, well, we want to do.
What we want to abate.
Yep.
I'm good.
so I'm gonna send him this out and give him these 3 choices, and whatever he chooses, you know, he will he'll have to come back to the selectmen for abatement, for a request for a meter, he'd have to go to, you know, I'm just giving him there's only 3 choices.
Yeah.
Everything comes to us, nothing comes to us, or what he's already got comes to us, and maybe we can abate if you prove it's not coming to us.
That's great.
So,
Good job.
his doesn't have a deduct meter because it's that holding tank, so it's a little bit different situation.
But he can provide
Sure,
a
he gets
receipt
tear
showing
sheets.
that he had this
Sure.
pump out of this
Yeah,
particular
if he had
location.
5 gallons of wastewater, 500 gallons of wastewater is, you know, whatever, it's 751 a 1,000 gallons, so your 500 gallons is like $3.50. I mean,
It's a little,
it's $3.50.
oh, $3.50.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money. With the sheepdog and Hallion, you're talking about the difference between 6,000 gallons and 44,000 gallons. That was a huge difference. For Mr. Brown, not huge. He's only having about 500 gallons pumped off a year. So that's $3.50, and he'd still have to pay the capital, you know, so,
That might not be worth it for him to buy the machine.
no, he can't buy a deduct meter. He could only ask for an abatement based on what he pumped. I mean, if it ever got to the point where he had to pump off 10,000 gallons a year, if he was doing it, you know, 10 times, then, yeah, it might be worth it for him to make the request. But I don't see any other way around it. Everything, nothing, or something. Those are the 3 choices. So I'm gonna be sending out that letter. I wanted you to have a heads up because it did kind of have an abatement component, which
Did we have any motions on the table for any of that?
For what she's discussing right now.
Okay. Good enough.
Do you want a motion to authorize you to write that letter? or-
you know, I've already written the letter, and, you know, if it gets escalated and it needs board decision, then we'll be back.
Okay.
It'll rear its lovely head again.
All right.
Great.
We'll move to proposed tax plan, contract, and pre-deeding.
So I brought this at the last meeting, but Mrs. Twombley wasn't in attendance, and you guys wanted to give her a chance to weigh in on her opinion on this. And just, you know, this is an agreement that I've used in another town. It's just another, in my opinion, another tool to give people a chance to make a payment plan that are close to being able to pay. I mean, there's a lot of parameters that have to go with this. You know, they have to be able to pay it off in a couple of years. They have to pay all new taxes as they come due. You know, there's something in it for the taxpayer. They wouldn't get deeded on October 27th, but there's something in it for the town as well because we get the money, which is what we want. We want the tax money. We don't really want to own the property.
And what does Mrs. Conley think of it?
I think that we should allow people to try to pay what they can pay and try to catch it up by doing it in installments or however they have to do
That
it.
is the easiest way.
That's right.
I think we're all in agreement on that, right? So do you want to make a motion on the table to accept the administrator's policy grant?
Proposed tax payment plan and contract for pre-deeding, is that what we're?
Town of Wakefield payment plan rules.
Tax payment agreements.
Town of Wakefield payment plan policy, I will make that motion.
I'll be happily in second.
I will be happy to say that no discussion and all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Kelly. Glad
Thank you,
we're
Kelly.
finding ways to keep people in their houses.
Well, don't hit me yet. I mean, let's see how it works first. If you guys
I
want
think there's a chance
to
that
sign
it's
this
gonna work just
policy,
fine.
and then I'll reprint it all without the draft and the agreement. Would you like me to send the, so this actual contract was vetted by my town attorney in my last town. Would you like me to just run it by Rick to make sure he's okay with it? Because he'd be the one stuck enforcing it.
Yep.
I don't anticipate he'd have any issues, but,
It's always good to have a.
yeah, I did tell him that I was working on something like this, and he didn't have any heartburn over that, but I'd like him to see the actual contract.
I was the only, as long as he reads it in 5 minutes. All right, establish second date for the the Board of Selectmen Department Head Budget Meeting.
So we have a day scheduled next week, October 3rd, all day.
Good.
But we're gonna need a couple more hours, probably 3-ish. And so I was looking at other dates. Lino's gonna be away for a couple weeks in November. So I was wondering if you and Connie, if we did all day on Tuesday, October 3rd, could you, all the three of you, do the afternoon on Thursday the 5th or Friday the 6th? Maybe like 1 to 4-ish?
Friday's better for me.
2 to 4-ish on Thursday or Friday, 2 to.
2 to 5?
2 to 5.
Did you do 2 to 5 on Friday?
2 to 5.
Yeah, would you be willing to send an email so that I can remember that?
And we'll have our budget. We'll have everything not wrapped up, but we'll have all the department heads. We'll have
Except
everything
for-
in front of us.
Except for a couple of my budgets, I don't have the health insurance renewal, I don't get that till the end of October.
Right.
That'll be the
It was
very
always
last,
something that came in the end.
yeah,
Okay.
that'll be the very last thing. And I think there's a, just that, basically that benefits personnel policy stuff is the last thing, but pretty much everything else that I have. And I've gotten one quote on property liability insurance, I'm waiting for the second quote, so I think we can wrap up a ton of it. I'm pretty
Good.
sure we'll be in good shape. And then you're meeting with so the budget committee meetings have been set up for Thursday, November 2nd, Saturday, November 4th, and then Thursday, November 9th. Lino is going to be gone, and he's the budget representative from the Board of Selectmen. So Charlie, I think you're the second.
Yeah,
So you would have to be,
Lino can call me if he's not gonna make it, if he's gonna do it over the phone. He'll be gone. On which one?
I'm leaving the afternoon on the 2nd.
November 2nd?
Yeah.
So that's the
so
one
he's
you
going
want
to
me
miss them all. He's going to miss the Thursday the 2nd, Friday, Saturday the 4th, and
Do you know how hard I took to
Thursday the
get out
9th.
of them this year?
It's gonna be done, and I'm more than happy to call in as well to be
I don't
supportive.
have any problem backing you.
if there's one you can't make, just let me know, and maybe Connie can make it. So-
We'll work together.
Okay.
We'll get it.
Okay, I just want to give you a heads up because I know he's going to be gone and I don't want to get to the 11th hour and forget to tell you.
No, that's fine.
Could we, if we're done with the budget earlier, could we ask the budget committee for an earlier date, possibly maybe the end of October?
Well, there was an issue with that. What was the issue with that? They couldn't, a couple of the members weren't available on Saturday 28th. They wanted it moved back to that first Saturday in November.
Okay.
And then I just don't think we can get it done by the 21st. I think that's really pushing
Yeah.
it a little too hard, but, I mean, we can look at where we are on the 3rd and the 6th, and we can make a request. I just don't know if they can
I've done it
accommodate
now
us.
for 3 years or 6 years in a row, so I think we
You
can.
can have it.
Okay, no, good.
But I'm happy to call in for either, any of those meetings that I'll be missing, including the selectmen's.
Yeah,
you guys
I think as long as if you have any opinions that you want me to cover for you, I'd appreciate you giving me a heads up.
I will let you, Kelly, and Jerry know ahead of time where we're going.
Well, and you guys should have a much better idea of how you feel as a board once you have your meetings with all the department heads, and then maybe take, a half
We do
hour.
2 days of.
Yeah,
doing it.
we'll take a half hour at the end of the 6th and kind of see if there's any angst amongst the board members on any budgets. And
No, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
And I will say I'm appreciative of the flexibility for the 2 weeks off.
You deserve it.
I expect to see a picture of yours.
I'll be bringing some back.
All right.
A long list.
New business, transfer station attendant, job description. We're looking for a new tenant.
We are, in the advertising for that position closes on October 2nd, and in preparation for that, Lee has tightened up the job description a little bit. There's not a ton of changes to it. I will say that part of it is, includes, I think, perhaps shoveling town buildings. I think he's trying to be proactive in being prepared for winter maintenance.
I think we should use all of the employees to the best of their abilities in the best interest of the town. And if this is one of the ways that we can get us to that point, I make the motion to accept the changes.
Second.
I think most of our job descriptions include all other duties as assigned, so, and I think they also include that, this is not a complete list of the duties, it's just demonstrative of the general job that you're applying for, so I think we're covered, but I think it's always good if you tighten it up and, make people aware of what they're signing up for.
Ahead of time, that way there's no discrepancies in the middle of the winter.
Seems like I don't want it to feel like we're pondering off jobs to others because we don't want to do it. But,
You want me to shovel the town buildings?
well, of course, Kelly, I want you to get here half an hour early, make sure them steps are clean. No, of
I
course
have
not.
done that many years.
I've done it a few times myself,
I've been over here.
but no, of
I'm
course
sure
not.
we'll,
And
I'm sure we'll all
I'm
get a
also-
turn.
All right,
Well,
so, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Doors and windows, bid and flooring. I only have one for the flooring, and I reached out to a few, and I didn't get them. So this one is very important. So when I open this, we'll decide there. I could not get anybody to bid on the trim and all the doors and windows trimmed and stuff. I think it was just, wasn't enough time for them, because I reached out to them again, and they're willing to give more bids. So the trim and windows, I'll get more bids than one, but I'm running out of time, and I'm hoping for the best on this one, because I'd like to see this one, not this.
That's for the flooring and upstairs?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm hoping for the best so that we can get it accepted and moved on, because I'm almost to the end here.
You want to get it wrapped up for winter?
Yeah, I need it before, because there's no more money after December, so. This is Gilmats flooring, Sanford. They're at $13,333. I will tell you that that's well under my allowance.
It's a nice round number.
Yeah, that's the game in the contract business. Make it sound a little odd so you would think you put a lot of time in it. No, I'm okay. Yes, it's the only bid. I'm sorry for that, but I've tried and I'm just not getting it. But this is definitely well under my allowance to complete it. So I guess my thing would be, okay, this is telling me what everything is.
It's backup documentation for the 13.
Yep. That's always everything. Yeah, that's pretty much what I went over with all these people. Only he was the only one to show. Who's Chaz? Stanchard's base code. This was also with the base code, which means I didn't have to put that onto the trim package. They were going to do the base code on the vehicle. So to me, I think that's a great number. It's actually about $2,000, something under what I think I had. And I had about a flooring allowance of about $15,000.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the current and only bid for the flooring in the public safety building, second floor.
Second.
I Thank you. All in favor? Aye. As for the windows and doors, it will be put back out to the tomorrow, Friday, right?
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe even tomorrow. But I will tell you that I reached out again, and I will have more than one on this one. But that will be about the last one. And we are doing very well.
Are you
Okay.
good? You want to authorize Kelly to sign this proposal?
Motion to let Kelly sign the proposal.
Second. Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good job.
What about the curtain draw thing?
It's funny, I just called them about that because the last time I pinged her on it, she said 3 to 4 more weeks. And when I pinged her after 5 weeks, she told me the company never started making it because they didn't get the template from her. So it'd be another month. And she apologized profusely, but
We want a discount then.
Oh, you're such a hard woman.
well,
Not you.
it's been, I'm a little peeved, and I think she knows I'm peeved because the thing is,
She does now.
when I first asked her for the quote on it, and solicited it, she said, well, it'll be done in 3 to 4 weeks. And then she said the material was out of stock and they have to order it. Well, that was kind of important to know when I called to order it, that it was out of stock and be 3 or 4 weeks before the material came in, and then there was a template that didn't get sent or didn't get received. So I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Me too.
Unfortunately, I was hoping it'd be here for summer so everybody in the audience wasn't blinded.
I know.
Now I'm just hoping it's here for next.
Yeah, right.
I've lowered my expectations a lot.
All right, so we have no expenditures to go over. We got correspondence, which is the charter communications.
Do we expenditures mean the warrant?
Capital reserve.
Capital reserve expenditures.
Charter's getting rid of another channel.
Is this our local cable company?
Yeah, it's time.
Okay.
I would say with the loss of all these channels, we should look at their contract again.
Oh, I'm 100% with you.
Yes, me too.
Only because I don't think they fulfilled their agreement right from the beginning anyway.
No, they haven't.
Not everybody in this town is still supplied with cable. I won't tell you who either.
I refuse to be extorted with any type of fees.
Well, I'm with you there. So,
Would it be okay if I asked Mr. Miller a question?
yes, you can.
How are they treating you, Jim? Charlie, any issues with them?
Well, I was going to use public comment, and I use my 3 minutes now.
Yep.
I just wanted to get some guidance from the selectmen. I got it with Kelly's help. I got communication with them. As you know, we've been trying to get a live feed to the school, because not only the school board meetings would be live like these are, but also the basketball games would be the best thing on the channel. Well, we finally got a hold of someone. I met with someone, Dave and I did, at the school. They did this measuring and looking and all this stuff, and we're going to send us a price, because the idea was to get what the cost was, bring it to the selectmen, and then we don't know what we're going to do or how we're going to do it, but at least we would know the cost. They told me they were going to give me a price in a week. It's been 3 months. I called him. I had saved his phone number, and I called him about 4 weeks ago, and I got all of this wishy-washy, I got to send it to somebody else, kick the can down the road. It's obvious that they only communicate when it benefits them. And to be honest, there's no money in this for them, as far as there's no subscribers that are going to get at the end of it. So I don't know, our contract clearly states that we were supposed to have this live feed and even a second channel. And the second channel can wait, but I think it said in 1 year, and I think we're 4 years, 3 or 4 years into the contract now.
Can you
So-
email me tomorrow the person you met with and the date you met with them, and let me bounce this back up higher
Sure.
to the food champ, to that Shelley?
Yeah.
Because she is pretty responsive to me. I'm not
Yes.
sure that, maybe they aren't sharing it with her. It might not have gotten back up the food chain yet, but if you could give me the particulars, I can at least ping her on it, and then if she knows the town is looking at it, And it's in the contract. She is very versed in the contract because I made sure I looked at the contract before I got in touch with her the first time. And she's like, oh, I know, we were supposed to do this. And then that whole 6 months of original program, like she will do what she has to do. They're not gonna do one speck of anything more than they have to do. But I think we can hold her feet to the fire. I just need more information and we'll bounce it up.
Okay, so I understand. I mean, first of all, the little communication I've had with them, most of it's been through Kelley, because I understand I have no authority to do anything, but except bring you this information for your own decision making. But I think it's real easy for them to just brush me aside because, of that. So if you like, I will continue to work with Kelley on this, and we'll see if we can get things moving forward. And other than that, as far as me personally, my bill keeps going up and I keep getting less channels. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
But, it's back when we did the contract, the town did a great job and hired a special attorney for that. And it's almost like you can't get their competitors to bid, like who's a MetroCast. It's like they won't even, you're almost, monopolies are illegal in this country, and here we have one.
Yeah.
They're all the same though. I
Yeah.
think MetroCast and
Yeah.
Metro is bad or worse. So they're just not very responsive.
The problem that we have is MetroCast also broadcasts the sports in Rochester, and some of our kids participate. And I'm sure someone would be happy to view them instead of having their bill go up or less channels. Maybe a live feed in the school.
Or your MetroCast.
Interestingly enough, at our Clearview meeting last night, we discussed the possibility, we're going to contact MetroCast and request these videos of like basketball games that have our high school students or football games, and see if we can request those videos to play on our own channel that have our own children in it.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, I think
we're
that's an
working on that.
excellent program.
Yeah, good job. All right, so we're going into the public comment. Go ahead, Steve.
Speaking to that charter, I believe that, and I'm not up on the mumbo jumbo necessarily of the computers into, but I believe the second line, and there was something else that they're supposed to be putting into the school as part of their contract now at no additional charge. So I don't know what they're telling Mr. Miller that they're gonna give him a price, but I'd double check on that, because if I recall correctly, I think they were supposed to be putting in a second channel, and there was something else that they were supposed to be doing already as part of the signed contract that they have with the town, so I'd just double check on that.
The contract does require a fee, and you had already decided as the Board of Selectmen and signed off on a contract that you would spread the fee along to the ratepayers. It's in the contract. There was also another piece about another PEG channel, but that required 6 months, proof of 6 months of original programming
Yes.
before, and it's gotta be original. It can't be replaying, and this is the conversation I had with her, and she,
Well,
like I
that's,
said, we'll get exactly what they have to provide and not one thing more,
Yes,
because
and-
they won't, and she knows what it is.
Well, I
Kelly's
thought they-
correct. Oh, sorry.
I thought they were providing that everybody in this town, to even come to this town, that everybody in it would be eligible to have cable television.
I didn't see that in the contract, and actually, most of the contracts have
No.
a concentration requirement,
Right.
and if you don't live within an area that's financially feasible for them to run it, then you can have it at your cost.
Oh, yeah, no,
And
I know.
like, you remember the first bill we got for running cable to Parks and Rec? It was like $28,000, and then they were like, oh, well, wait, it's fourth quarter, we could do it for $99 down and $90 a month, and I'm like, how did you go from $28,000 to $90?
Because it corrupts.
Yeah, it might be time for a sit down with them.
That, I'm agreeing with you there. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's time to sit down with them anyway, to renegotiate and see what they want to do to be amongst our community. Do we have anything to vote on this? I just wanted to.
No, I just like you to be aware, because on the back of the cable bill, you're the people responsible for the franchise agreement. So you're the people, it says call the Board of Selectmen, and it has our phone number on it. So I like you to be aware of what's going on.
Ralph,
You might want to put like a request for bids to other cable providers before you start really battling back and forth with Spectrum, whatever they are. Because
We did that before, but
I know they have.
I suggest you call the attorney because I've tried this in other towns, and one, they won't come to the table because they don't have to, and two, nobody will bid against them.
no,
So,
they'd have to do
go
too
back
much
to that
work to tear
attorney.
their lines down and put their own ones up. And
They wouldn't tear it down, they would just buy it out.
They keep the infrastructure together. They just
buy it out.
buy the contracts.
How long was that contract that we signed? That was what, about
5 years?
5 years, I was thinking maybe?
I think longer.
You think, well,
Usually they don't do less than 10 or 12. Usually they want 25 and you
I
want
think
5
we
and you agree
negotiated
at
something
12.
that we
Yeah.
dropped it down
We did.
because we had an issue,
We did.
and we lowered down the amount of time.
Yeah, they usually want a 20 or
We wouldn't
25
give
year
it to them.
contract, and you
If I
usually want a
recall
5,
that.
and you usually settle at 10, 12, 15 somewhere.
Yes.
I'd be very surprised if it was less than 10.
Yeah, it is, because I recall we didn't agree to it, and they did lower it down to a certain, a number, so, hey,
So
I
we
can
may
take-
not even be able to renegotiate yet if it's so.
but I think like Kelly said, I mean, you're talking, they don't
things
care.
they're not
No, they
doing.
don't care.
But let's hold them responsible for
But hold
what.
them responsible for what's
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean, we
contract.
can't get anything new, but we can get what's
Right.
agreed upon.
Correct.
So let's hold their feet to the fire and see what we can get done.
I'm with you there.
I don't understand why we don't get NBC. I mean, Channel 4 disappeared years ago. NBC, I mean, I don't think we get NBC, we get other networks. It's like, what happened to Channel 4?
Yeah, channels.
Oh, Channel 6,
I don't
NBC?
get cable at all, so I don't know.
Channel 6 is NBC, I think.
It is.
I'm one of those 2 people in town that don't get it.
I don't get it.
Well, I think we need to work on that too, because, really what's more important than even the television, because as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing to watch. But, the thing that's really important now is the internet, because the children use it for school. I mean, it's an integral part of their lives now, and they really need that internet access to do homework, to access lessons. And there's not much of the town that's not built out, but that's another goal I think we could work on. And, we have these franchise fees coming in, and there might be something there that could be used so that there's no consequence to the property taxpayer. So there are some things we could work on to solve some of this. Thank you.
And just to follow up to that, if that's okay.
No, go ahead.
I would also think that if we had the build out, we would be able to have virtual classrooms on snow days. Might be something to look at for the future.
No?
Maybe you can just do virtual classrooms so you don't need bus drivers. Oops, sorry.
Whoops.
So,
I think I might sign up for school.
yeah, good job. All right,
Okay.
everybody all set? Okay.
I thought you were going to say something. I thought you
He
were-
was, but he holds his tongue. All right, town administrator update. Talk to us, Kelly.
Is this your, Tony, is this yours?
Um,
Is that my mother-in-law's?
It could be.
Yes, it is.
Okay, administrator update.
So, bank interest. I took it upon myself to talk to TD Bank, and we have changed to a TD Advantage program, which will mean instead of getting a little over $3,000 in interest this year, or next year for a full year, we should get about $13,000. So I think we've increased the interest by $10,000. And basically, it's just kind of like the old-fashioned sweeping out at night. They get the use of our money, and then it swoops back into our account. And so we just had to sign an agreement to do that. Nothing has changed. The money's still in the care, custody, and control of the treasurer. Our money is still available to us. It's just basically by letting the bank
Play with it.
use that money. And we're commingling the operating fund and the money market fund. Tony and Michelle just asked me about the money market. We put more money in that. We're already realizing a couple $100 more interest a month from just moving more money to the money market. But now we've commingled the operating money and the money market together so they can use it at night and it's back in our account in the morning. And we're going to probably get about $10,000 a year more interest.
Good job, because when we first took on TD Bank, we had a good deal and then they went off it.
Yeah, I think the interest rate is rebounding a little bit, so there's better products, and obviously the towns are the goose that laid the golden egg. We don't have a lot of money all year, but there are times during the year where we have $2, $3, $4 million on deposit, and that is not a pittance.
Wall Street tycoon.
Not me,
Well-
it's not my money.
The question I have is it insured if something happens?
Yes.
Up to,
So we are insured with the FDIC up to $100,000, and then we have a letter of collateralization for anything over that from TD Bank. We basically buy a letter of credit to cover us for anything over that. That's what all towns do. Don't we get that letter of collateralization every year?
Job.
So you know that Irma ruined my vacation. So I'm trying it again in December. I just wanted to let you guys know that I will be hopefully at Mickey Mouse's house the 11th through the 15th of December. And I've made sure there's not a budget work session that week or public hearing. I did want to touch base with you guys about the ski program. So I don't know if you know, maybe you remember from my resume, I'm a certified ski instructor and have been for 30-odd years. And so I was talking to Wayne about the ski program because I had been working in a mountain down by where I lived before, and so I don't really have a plan for this winter. And I asked Wayne if he was looking for chaperones for the ski program because that's kind of right up my alley, and he said he was still looking for chaperones. What I would need from you guys is I would need to leave the office at 2:50, 6 Fridays from, it either starts January 5th or January 12th. I don't anticipate that would interfere in any way with my job. It wouldn't be double dipping. I wouldn't be getting paid for it. And generally, I don't think I've ever had a week since I started working here that I didn't already have 40 hours in by noon on Friday. So I don't feel like it, if it conflicted with my job, I obviously wouldn't go, and he says he can find somebody to back me up. But I want you, I want to disclose it. I want you to know. So if somebody's looking for me at 3 o'clock on a Friday and I'm on the bus or in my private car going to King Pine, you are aware of that. But I think it's a good way for me to get to know the kids. There's like 50 kids in the program and get to know some of the parents. And I don't really, it's a exposure to the public, Wakefield public I don't really have right now.
Now, I just want you to know that as lodge nana as I was for quite a few years.
Lodge nana?
Yeah. I had to make whoopie pies every week.
I'd rather teach skiing than make whoopie pies.
Wonder why BC is going crazy in this country.
If you have any issue with that, just let me know. But
I think it's a good idea.
No, it's
I really do.
if they can use me, I'd like to do it.
And plus you get
it's
to
only
know the
6
kids.
Yeah, and it's only 6 weeks, so I don't think it'll interfere with anything.
Yep.
I'm going to try to take a road maintenance 101 workshop through UNH transfer. So this one is specifically for boards of selectmen and administrators, more kind of a 101 on, more from our standpoint than from public works. And that's in November 7th from, I think it's 9 to 2. Again, that's if that works out with our budget committee schedule.
Can I take it too?
Yeah. Absolutely. You want me to try to sign you up?
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that. Let's see. So we did shoot everything out, yes, we did it. So the Greater Wakefield Resource Center has an emergency repair. Mr. Takis was down there, so I don't know how familiar you are with how the septic system works down there, but there's some kind of tank chopper unit in the basement that fills up with brown water, and then when it's full, there's a sensor, the pump turns on and pumps it out to the tank that we just replaced out the parking lot. So the sensor has failed again. The sensor failed in 2013 and it was $1,500. I believe that system was put in 2000 or 2001, and it failed in 2013, and now has failed again. So basically what's happening is Susan has to go down and manually turn, the pump is working, it's just the sensor. To replace the sensor is $1,500, or we can replace the whole system so that it becomes mechanical and it uses a mechanical float, and to replace the whole system is $1,950. I went through the contract because I had looked at the contract earlier this year because there were some issues with the doors and who's responsible for what. So I had a chance to review the contract in detail this afternoon, and there is, on page 3 of the contract, it says that the point of this contract is that the Resource Center becomes self-supporting. The specific verbiage is, it is the intent of the parties hereto that the premises will become financially self-supporting, namely that rental income will offset all interior maintenance and repair costs, and possibly capital improvements, that's in parentheses. And that donations, fundraising, and possible future grants will fund future capital improvements and renovations. So I thought, we aren't supposed to pay for inside stuff, but then I got to page 6 of the contract, and that says, all interior maintenance efforts, to include but not be limited to cleaning, trash removal, lawn and shrubbery care, replacement of broken glass, minor repairs, etc., shall be the responsibility of the manager of the Resource Center. And this is in bold italics. Major repairs or capital improvements, both being defined as costing more than $1,000, shall receive prior approval of the town before payment by the town. So here's the problem. We budgeted $5,000 to do the septic system in the operating budget. We have spent all but $780.25 of that. So that's all I have in the operating budget for the Resource Center. There's a capital reserve fund, but that's strictly states exterior maintenance. We cannot use that capital reserve fund. So Victor Becker came to see me yesterday, so they notified us like they're supposed to, but at the end of the day, they basically can make the repair and then expect for us to pay for it. I think he's trying to do the right thing. Before I had read the contract in its detail, I called Victor back because I said, you know, not for nothing, and this is my fault, but I've read this contract about 20 times, and this summer you called me, Susan called me to take care of your shrubberies, and I sent the highway department down to do that. I don't mind doing it, but it's one of the things specifically listed as being your responsibility. So do you guys have any money at all that you can help us with this repair? Because again, I only have $780, and I don't know where and I definitely think that we should go with the $1,950 replacement, because if we do that, the sensor in that one is only $50 to replace. So even if the sensor goes bad, it's $50 instead of $1,500. So we should bite the bullet and spend the $1,950. If we have to pay the entire $1,950, then the only other place I can take it from is the emergency repairs for the town hall, and there's only about $2,400 left in that. So that would only leave me $1,200 for the rest of the year for this building, which is kind of chancy. So I talked to Victor again this afternoon. They're willing to try to come up with some part of it. I don't know if we want to go half and half, or if we want to try to pay $1,500 and see if they can come up with $450. I don't want to.
I think the 50-50 is good. It just sounds to me like that's where it should go, a half and half. But what if they don't have it? So do we just say, contribute? I mean, I don't want them telling us that they only have $400. When
Well,
they
the other
have
thing,
$800.
they already started the repair too this morning. Mr. Taker showed up to do
They
it.
gotta fix it.
Yeah, because
It's
she's
coming up. I know
cycling
exactly what the problem is.
she's cycling the pump manually, and
Yeah.
that's kind of,
I understand. I got the same issue with
Kind
that
of job.
particular problem.
well, we don't want it bubbling up in the.
It'll come up through the showers and the sewer, and I know exactly what's going to happen. So yes, I think that we do what we can, and they should participate as much.
Will the town be reimbursed? The other half?
Well, I'm assuming that they're going to participate. Do we pay the whole thing? Is it first? Is that how it works?
I haven't even seen a proposal or a bill for, I said to Victor, get me Mr. Takis's bill, because I don't want to, because the original thing was they were gonna borrow the money from, one of their benefactors as a loan and write out, a note and borrow it from them, and then if the town would pay it back, we'd pay them back and they paid it, and that's too my auditors would not
They
enjoy
must
that.
have something in some kind of emergency fund.
They're responsible for inside maintenance, right?
They are, but the contract specifically says that anything over $1,000 in emergency repair or maintenance, major repairs or capital improvements, both being defined as costing more than $1,000, so that's this, shall receive prior approval of the town before payment by the town.
So why don't we pay the 1,000 and ask them to pay the 950?
Why are we paying for it all?
Because our contract with the Resource Center says we have to. You want to look at page 3 in green and page 6 in green. They're conflicting, but
When you read it, that's what it sounded like.
they
That's
do,
what I'm
they
saying.
conflict.
It
I
could go
think,
both ways.
so I think the people who signed the contract in the town contemplated the Resource Center being totally on its feet someday and supporting itself, but that is not the case. That is not how it is today. And I think if they had unlimited resources, we wouldn't be having this conversation, but they do not. I think this is clearly an emergency repair and we entered into this agreement, and this agreement was vetted by the CDBG grant that we got, so I don't feel like we can renege on this agreement.
Do you feel that we should pay it all?
I think we have to pay it all if they don't have the money, but they're willing to
come up with
to
something.
come up with some of the money, and he thought half was fair. What he doesn't have is access to his treasurer this week. She's apparently not available, so he isn't really even sure what they have or how they can tap into it. I'm not opposed to paying the whole bill and let them give us half at a later date, because I don't think Mr. Takis should be on the hook or be wondering when his invoice is gonna get paid. Clearly, it's an emergency repair,
I don't
which
have a problem with that either.
gets rid of, the bid process and,
But I like the idea of, it says $1,000, maybe that's what we should pay. And then they pay the balance of it, or whenever they can, or whatever. But we should pay it and get it done, because it's definitely gonna be an unsanitary issue if it continues.
yeah, he was working on it, he started working on it this morning, I assume it's done.
I would
don't
assume
think
so.
it was a big,
No, I'm assuming he'll be done today or tomorrow.
Yeah, this is, like you said, this contradicts
but
itself.
it's funny that the section on page 6 is in italics and bolded, so clearly,
Somebody made an issue.
yeah, it's been an issue before, and,
So do you need a motion to pay the thing, or?
well, it's an amount I can write a purchase order for, it's an emergency repair, so it isn't even gonna get a purchase order, so it's more about contract negotiations, and I just wanna do the right thing by the
I think they're
Resource
doing the right
Center.
thing now. So I'd like to think that they will come up and pay half of it or at least as much as they possibly can.
So you're okay with me paying the full bill if I have to, and then ask them if they
It has to
pay
be fixed.
the $950?
And I'm okay.
Yeah, we can.
It's not a very pleasant thing if this overflows, it gets into the.
No, and I feel sorry for her having to go down and manually
Yeah.
cycle, and remember, before you go home every day, to manually
Right.
cycle the pump, and what happens on a weekend, and, yeah, that'd be a nightmare.
And I would definitely flag that contract for future review when it comes up in 2018.
Yeah, it expires on December 31st in 18, so we should look at, what kind of condition the Resource Center is in, and what we can
Yep.
realistically expect from them. So
Okay.
you're all okay with that?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
No, I don't think we need one.
I
Do we?
probably think we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an expenditure.
Right.
Make sure
Go
that
ahead and
we're-
make a motion.
You guys make the motion. I was reading the contract.
All right, I'll make the motion that we pay the bill and ask for 50% and see where that takes us. I mean, if they can make the 50%, that's fine. If they cannot, they can show that they cannot, then we'll take, we'll negotiate and take what they can help us.
Okay,
Second.
great. And then where is that money coming from?
Well, I think it will come, the 700 and something can come out of the fund, and then we'll take the balance out of the emergency town hall fund, and we can only hope that nothing happens here.
Okay, just to make sure that we know where the money's going,
Yep.
and when it's repaid, where would the money go back to?
Yeah, and it'll go back to the emergency fund, to the
Yes,
town
I
hall
think
emergency
it's
fund,
back to that. Yep.
the balance that we take out, at least.
Mhm.
But 700 comes out of the
Right.
Greater Wakefield
regular
resource.
Yeah.
resource.
Okay, just to make sure that
Okay,
we're all.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good.
So I'm leaving tomorrow at 3, just so you know. I have an appointment on Laconia at 4, and Friday I'm leaving at noon because I have a Lakes Region Municipal Managers Association meeting in Durham.
Mhm.
It's the Lakes Region, it's Durham, Alton, Molten Borough, Tamworth, Ossipee. Just a bunch of town administrators that get together and go over local, regional issues that might be of interest. It's a good networking thing. I went to one last month, I think, in Molten Borough. I think I sent you an email today. The town has been successful in successfully appealing. We won the case in the Dollar General appeal. The town prevailed, Dollar General did not, so there's just the second appeal still open.
That's for the building here, correct?
The first one was for the Sanborn
The
House.
second one is for
The
the.
second one is for the other lot. That we have not got, that has been heard but not gotten a decision on, so.
Yep. And we won the first one.
Do we have a cost of how much that cost us to get to for that appeal?
No, but I can try to come up with that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to know.
Interesting. Painful.
They're paying the bill anyways.
And the last thing I had is I'm ready to,
Oh, yeah, I'd like to think that it's not gonna kill us with our attorney's, his budget as it is. But I would imagine it probably is already killed it.
Right.
so the last thing I have is I have written the RFP for the second part of the window project. I worked with Victor Becker to help me identify the windows that are left. There was a little bit of we had a discrepancy in a couple of windows, so we figured it out. I'd like your permission to send it to LCHIP. It has to be reviewed and approved by LCHIP before it can go out to the vendors. And then I'll do what they did with the last one and mail it to the window vendors. I believe they mailed it to a bunch of vendors and only one person bid,
That's the
so.
thing I went to, right? Didn't I go accept that grant with the governor? Miss Maggie Hassan.
Well, it won't say that this time.
Nope.
Need a motion?
Yeah, just to authorize me to send it out, because if it doesn't meet LCHIPs, then we won't get the grant reimbursement, so they've got to look at it first.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I had.
Good. Let's see the treasury report.
Yep.
It's always kind of fascinating to see it. Seems like a lot of money. It is.
We got NSF fees and NSF checks.
What are you talking about?
The second page. sorry.
Yeah, I'm on it.
NSF checks and NSF fees, do we know what those are for, or we can't talk about those?
Bad checks?
Bad checks, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying, the non-funds. Yeah.
Right. Are we,
I think it was just one check, because $30 is only one fee.
but they're not $10?
No, they're 30.
30.
Wow.
I think the bank charges us 10.
Yes.
Okay.
We charge 20, and we charge 30.
Did we collect on that check yet, or is it outstanding?
I don't know the answer to that either.
All right, so
We usually do. If we don't collect them, we turn them over to PD.
Right.
we move to the zoning board adjustment membership. We got Sharon Feeling resigning, resignation from the zoning board of adjustments was accepted by the ZBA on August 21st. Cecile, how do you pronounce that name?
Celia, no.
Okay, but she's resigning also? Were they having problems?
She's moving.
Oh, she's moving. She was husband is moving to South Carolina for the near future. Okay, so this is about accepting these
And
and appointing George Don Stewart and George Frothingham.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the resignation with regret and thanks for their service to the town for Sharon and Sealy.
And,
I was gonna do 2 seconds.
oh, okay, and I second. All in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept Don Stewart and George Frothingham as members of the ZBA. I would also have a caveat to that, that we have, just look at the membership that's at the committee as well. Just look at the membership of that committee as well.
That, for what?
I think there's 2 relatives on that committee, I just want to make sure that we,
It's understandable.
Well, one isn't one of,
I think it's father and son.
yeah, no, but one of them is not a member of it.
Right, one would be a member, one would be an alternate.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that we're aware of the board's makeup.
And I think we should send letters of appreciation, which we haven't done in a long time, to Sharon and,
Sealy?
Sealy.
And
They
that's-
have put in
that's
a
fine.
lot of time on those committees.
Sounds good.
You want me to do that for your signatures?
Tony usually writes the letters.
Well,
Whatever,
No, that's fine.
however they get written.
I just didn't know if you wanted to do it or if you wanted the zoning board to do it.
No,
You guys want to do
we'll
it?
do it.
That'd be good, we haven't done one, like she said, and we've always done them, and that's a time that I feel that we do them. Not every day, we do it once when they
Once
need
in
it.
a while, when they need it.
Okay, so do we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Trick or treat. We've always held it on the 31st, and from 5 to 8, is that what we do, over, how it works?
usually.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with continuing the same tradition.
I don't need them.
We don't have
We
anything.
don't have anything for it, it's just.
We just need to,
What date?
it's on the Tuesdays, the 31st, it'll be Halloween. I don't think it needs to be on a weekend by all means, if you know, other than it's always been held on the 31st, whatever day it came. I'm okay with that. Are you?
But just had a question of why the board sets the time and it's not.
It's always been that way. We've always,
Boards of selectmen always do it. They
Yeah.
usually take input from the police chief and set the time.
and I'm sure he's probably grateful it's on a Tuesday. That's for me. Not that I know, because I don't. I'm assuming if he's best time, but anyway. All in favor?
Aye.
Building permit releases?
We don't have any.
Okay. Payment manifest, I have a warrant for $71,626.34.
Mr. Chairman, I have removed one off of the consent.
Say that again?
I have removed one off of the consent for, I think, is that one?
I don't
Or
think so.
is that a different one?
I think the way that is it.
This is payroll.
Okay.
Like I said, it's payroll for $71,626.34. Do I have a motion on the table to accept?
So,
Do I have a second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Choose. Okay, so we have a warrant for $105,487.12. Do I need a motion before we discuss that? Is this the one that you have a little question?
Yep, I just have one question on one of the warrants.
Okay,
I would like it to be followed up upon, held until the next warrant.
okay, tell me what do you want to do?
Hold it to the next warrant, I'll tell you the reference number.
Okay, in agreement with you on that.
How much is it?
That doesn't have a total, I did bring it down, but I'll hold it all, so we have
Right there,
Right there.
465.
465.59.
$465.59.
Yep.
So do we minus that from this and release that? Is that how that works? And then bring up the other one forward? How does that work?
I would make a motion to authorize the entire manifest, but hold the check until the answer, because the checks have already been cut.
Right.
Basically, what you're doing is you're holding back one of the checks that won't get
Okay.
mailed. So authorize the manifest in its entirety with the caveat that we not mail the check for $465.59.
She's like, wait a lot. I think it's just
caveat.
Yeah.
Yep.
With a
So,
condition,
is the
with a
motion
condition
just what
that
she
we
said?
hold back that
So
check.
moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and second? I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay. That's good. Good choice. Okay.
And I'm getting more information for you.
Thank you.
Here, Lino. Okay, manifest, everything's done?
Do appreciate the board's indulgence on that.
Well, it's definitely something to look into. Just for future.
Yes.
To make it better, not that anything is,
Nope.
just to make it better. We got board minutes for September 13th.
Was I here?
I don't think so, Connie.
Thank you.
Yes, she was.
Oh, I was.
We want to make sure.
It says here he was.
But
Connie was here on
she
September
was.
13th.
She was here for.
Non-public, but not for the,
Yeah, that's what I
All right,
thought.
so let's do it in two parts. We'll do the non-public on September 13th. Do we have a motion and able to accept the minutes?
Yeah, there's several of them.
motion to accept the non-public minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor to accept the motion, the minutes of the September 13th? Aye.
Aye.
Now for the September 13th board meeting minutes,
Mr. Chairman, I move them as presented.
and I second that. All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
And Connie abstains due to not being there. I think we've had a great work session. I don't know if we have anything else to bring to the board.
It's okay with the chairman, I think we can postpone that.
We've worked enough for tonight.
Anybody else?
Is the resource center fully occupied?
I don't know. Is the resource center fully occupied?
Almost.
the parts that are completed, but there's a good portion of the upstairs still being worked
Upstairs
on.
is not, yeah.
But the elevators to the second
Yes.
floor is in, correct?
Yes.
Correct,
And-
yep.
And wasn't it the last I heard, that was the real big piece that was holding them back from getting the upstairs completed, so it would be fully occupied.
I would think
Money
Monday is
is,
probably.
money is the issue.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
Well done, everybody.
All adjourned.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, cool.